Robin Williams will go down as one of the most iconic comedians and actors of our generation with his unique humor, high energy, and most distinct of all, his voice. Instantly recognizable but could be changed 1,000 different ways, Williams used his voice like an instrument, going high, going low, delivering spot-on impressions, and uses his vocals for some of the most iconic animated characters of all time. Relive some of his greatest voice performances, why he almost abandoned the genie for good, the demons he struggled with, and the legacy he leaves behind as his voice and performances live on forever. Robin Williams' comedy career started in one of the least likely places, at the serious and prestigious School of Drama, Juilliard. Joining the school in 1973, Williams was only one of 2 students selected for a special drama program. The other was Christopher Reeve. Despite impressing teachers with his acting abilities and talent, it was pretty clear Robin Williams had set a course for himself and was rising way above anything the school could have taught him. In the years before Williams attended Juilliard, he was already a ball of energy, using drama classes to hone in on his improvisational skills, creating all types of character voices, and entertaining anyone he was around. There was no denying Williams' natural talent as he shined through in various forms of entertainment. After leaving Juilliard, Williams headed to San Francisco where he found his true calling, stand-up comedy. He quickly rose through the ranks of the comedy world, bringing his fresh voice of the stage and eventually earning himself television comedy appearances on shows like Laugh-In. As was a trend throughout the 70s and well into today, television networks look for shows that they can create around successful comedians, and Robin Williams' unique style helped him nab a role as a strange alien in Mork and Mindy. On paper, the sitcom premise seems pretty crazy. Mork arrives on Earth in an egg-shaped spaceship and befriends a human named Mindy. Together, they go through all kinds of situations. Without Robin Williams, the show would have failed. His high-pitched alien voices, ability to improvise a scene, and comedic presence helped catapult the show to the top of the ratings. At one point, Mork and Mindy was getting nearly 60 million viewers a week. Robin Williams' on-screen presence was so strong he could be in scenes all by himself, spouting off monologues and have conversations with no one to huge laughs. Mork and Mindy helped transform Williams into a huge star, and the show was only the beginning. Williams' knack for impressions helped lead to his first big film role, playing the character and iconic voice of Popeye the Sailor Man in the 1980 live-action film. Feeling almost like a live-action cartoon, Williams was praised for his performance of Popeye, but the film itself ballooned way over budget and ended up being a pretty big box office disappointment. Thankfully, Williams was still starring in Mork and Mindy, a show so successful that ABC ordered an animated version. The Mork and Mindy / Laverne and Shirley / Fonz Hour was an animated adaptation of the 3 hit sitcoms and one of Williams' first high-profile voiceover jobs. Even in a sound booth, Williams could not be contained, delivering laughs and able to go off script with a variety of improvised lines and character voices. The Mork and Mindy cartoon clearly wasn't the finest animation, but definitely showcased potential for his voice talents. After Popeye, Williams once again teamed up with his film co-star Shelley Duvall for her quirky and whimsical live-action show Fairy Tale Theater. In the first episode, The Tale of the Frog Prince, Williams was like a cartoon coming to life, fully dressed as a wisecracking and singing frog. But after Mork and Mindy ended, Williams' life as a living cartoon character seemed to get placed on the back burner. Instead, he focused on a series of film roles with many box office bombs throughout the 1980s. Forgettable films like Club Paradise, Seize the Day, and The Best of Times all came and went, putting Williams' status as a huge movie and television star into question. At the same time, he was still bringing in big laughs with stand-up comedy tours all over the country. His shows and specials included An Evening with Robin Williams and Robin Williams at the Met, not to mention multiple appearances and sets on late-night talk shows. Then came 1987's Good Morning Vietnam, a film which put the emphasis on Williams' voice. Directed by Barry Levinson and also starring Forrest Whitaker, the movie is listed listed as number 100 on the American Film Institute's 100 Funniest American Movies. With memorable quotes and an enthralling performance, the movie put Williams back on the map and helped him earn the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical, along with his first ever Academy Award nomination. The uproaring "Good Morning Vietnam" quote is one of the more notable ones in film history, especially for any fans of The Office.
Good morning, Vietnam!
But Williams' performance goes way beyond the great line. The most entertaining and compelling scenes in the movie are simply Robin Williams sitting in front of a microphone. The speed of his voice, rapid-fire jokes, and off-the-cuff commentary are truly one of a kind. Clearly, focusing on his voice was still his strong suit, and Robin Williams began teasing the idea of lending his voice to various animated projects years after the Mork and Mindy cartoon went off the air. His first big voice project was not for any iconic character or big production, but rather for a PBS show entitled Rabbit Ears Storybook Classics. The show was basically like an animated book with motion visuals and a narrator. Along with other stars like Meryl Streep, Jack Nicholson, Jodie Foster, and Denzel Washington, Williams narrated 2 episodes of the series, Pecos Bill and The Fool and the Flying Ship. Then, in 1989, Williams finally made his long-awaited connection with Walt Disney Animation Studios. But the only way to see him was by going to Disney World. Long before Aladdin debuted in theaters, Disney showcased their animation studios through a special short film entitled Back to Neverland. The movie showcased the process Disney takes to help make animated features come to life. Williams starred in the short, laying down some vocal tracks, and eventually got transformed into an animated version of a Lost Boy. Shades of his iconic Genie performance could already be heard as he quickly went through character voices and even did a Mickey Mouse impression.
Can I do this? I'm happy. I'm grumpy. I'm dopey. Hi, everybody. I'm a corporate symbol.
The video short aired at Disney World for multiple years, giving Williams his own legacy with the history of the park. He even went on to provide his voice for another Disney Parks experience, the Timekeeper ride. The animatronic ride features 360 degrees of visuals, state-of-the-art effects, and a lot of surprises for fans of the show. After doing these projects, it seemed like the itch to perform in animated movies hit Williams hard. In 1991, he voiced a kiwi bird in the animated Christmas special A Wish for Wings That Work, although he was credited under the fake name Sudi Nim for the production. After animated sitcom spin-offs, storybook narrations, work at Disney parks, and going undercover to voice a bird, Williams was ready for his feature-length debut as an animated character. 1992 was his year, and Robin made a big impact by starring in not 1 but 2 feature-length animations. Continuing his relationship with Disney, Williams played a huge role as the blue-skinned genie in Aladdin. But before that, he went a little batty. Williams voiced the character of Batty Koda in Ferngully: The Last Rainforest. Released around 6 months before Aladdin, Williams really brought the Goofy Bat to life. But Ferngully's production was not in the same boat as the powerhouse of Disney. Despite initial worries, Williams voicing 2 different characters wasn't really a big deal, and Batty and Genie were completely different. Aladdin was released in November of 1992 and helped further cement Disney's new Renaissance era after following The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. A large part of Aladdin's success is directly credited to Williams' performance as the genie. When Aladdin was early in development, the songs, dialogue, and character were all planned out with Robin Williams in mind. Basically, if Williams wasn't on board, Aladdin would have to go back to square one. To help convince Williams, the producers and animators took lines from a stand-up album and animated them as if the genie was performing for Aladdin. The end result was magic, and Robin Williams was hooked. He instantly signed up for the role, and the genie could finally be colored in with his signature blue skin. Trapped in a lamp for thousands of years, when the genie gets unleashed by Aladdin, he's like an unstoppable force of energy, humor, and catchy songs like Friend Like Me. Matching Robin's frantic voice with fast-paced blink-and-you'll-miss-it moments led to huge laughs and one of Disney's most iconic characters outside of the group of princesses. We saw his trademark impression of Jack Nicholson, other celebrities like Robert De Niro, Rodney Dangerfield, Arsenio Hall, and he even voiced the narrator at the beginning of the movie. And when the genie is freed from his lamp at the end of the movie, the character is animated to dress just like Williams did for the live-action sequences in the Disney World Back to Neverland short movie. The completed runtime of 1 hour and 31 minutes of Aladdin is a mere fraction of the audio Williams recorded for the film. The exact time varies, but Disney captured around 16 hours of improvised lines and sessions with Robin Williams. While many animated movies are synced or pre-animated to match vocal tracks later, a lot of the genie's animations were done after to help match Robin's jokes, puns, and impressions. Using the basic premise of the scene, Williams riffed, redid lines, and brought so much to the help. There was so much improvisation from him that Aladdin couldn't even be entered into screenplay or writing categories when the awards season came around. Thanks to special releases like the Diamond Edition of Aladdin, there's access to some of the cut lines and alternative dialogue. And these weren't separate takes. He literally transitioned from impression to impression in just a matter of seconds. Even without the impressions, Williams was able to channel jokes and one-liners, including a confrontation when Jafar releases him from the lamp. Seeing a storyboard with the voices showcases how different Aladdin could have been with some of these inclusions. Before Robin Williams was the genie, big-name actors rarely performed for animated films. The stars of these films were the characters themselves, but Williams' role changed that. Movies went to feature famous stars, highlight their voices, and make them the center of marketing campaigns. Just look at some of the animated movie releases which followed Aladdin. Toy Story featured Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. Mel Gibson voiced John Smith in Pocahontas. And there's 2001's Shrek, featuring the all-star lineup of Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz. Robin Williams helped pave the way to all of these big voice castings. But no matter how loud the genie got or how many scenes he stole in the film, Williams was not interested in taking up the spotlight when Aladdin was getting released. For his part in the role of the genie, Williams took a payday around $70,000. As part of this agreement, Williams had a few requests of his own. The main one was to minimize the presence of his own name and the use of genie in advertisements. Oddly, this included the preface that the genie would only take up around 25% of the film's poster art. The reason for these requests? Less than a month after the release of Aladdin, the movie Toys was being released. Starring Williams, he did not want his role as the genie overshadowing his live-action film. But that's exactly what happened. Toys was a bomb at the box office, and Aladdin was a mega hit. The genie was huge drawing power to the movie, and naturally the blue guy was all over the film's marketing, including posters, trailers, and TV spots. Because of Disney's choices, Robin Williams turned his back on the company, refused to do any press for Disney, and didn't work with the company for a long time. The strain between Williams and Disney did nothing to stop the success of the film, though. The soundtrack was a big hit. Robin Williams became even more famous, and a new Disney classic was born. Disney was ready to continue the adventures of Aladdin, but they would have to do it without Williams. In 1994, The Return of Jafar was released as a straight-to-video sequel, and there was a clear difference when the genie came on screen. Recast with Dan Castellaneta, something was off with the genie this time around, and it was clear that Williams was missed. It's not that Castellaneta was a bad voiceover actor. Far from it. But Robin Williams is one of the toughest performers to duplicate. The Return of Jafar still sold extremely well and is one of the top-selling VHS tapes of all time. Even if Williams was snubbing Disney and giving animation a break, some of his most iconic voices weren't even the animated ones. In 1993, Williams starred in Mrs. Doubtfire, ironically enough as an animation voiceover actor who loses his job. When the reckless and unemployed father loses custody and visitation rights with his children, he dons full drag and becomes their elderly babysitter. Mrs. Doubtfire was another role purely designed for Williams, as he seamlessly transitioned from the gruff father to the sweet-talking old lady, and much of the comedy and premise came directly from Williams himself. Not only was Mrs. Doubtfire a huge hit, but it's hard to avoid the endless reruns on cable television. A couple more live-action roles followed in films like Jumanji and The Birdcage, but Disney desperately wanted their genie voice back in the fold. Not only was Williams' refusal to do Disney movies bad for the genie, but it was impacting other productions as well. Williams' good friend Billy Crystal was pitched the role of Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story. Crystal's manager and Williams himself told him to avoid Disney at all costs, and Crystal Crystal turned down the coveted role, which eventually went to Tim Allen. So what helped both Williams and Crystal come back to the Disney fold? The removal of Jeffrey Katzenberg and a public apology. Eventually, Crystal was hired for a role in Monsters, Inc. Meanwhile, Williams was extremely touched by the public apology and agreed to go back to Disney for the direct-to-video sequel entitled Aladdin and the King of Thieves. By this time, the movie was well into production, and all of the genie's lines were recorded by Dan Castellaneta. Disney cut their losses, saw the benefits of Robin's return, and everything was re-recorded for the movie. And some animation had to change as well, because Williams once again brought his trademark improv skills and impressions back to the recording booth. The sequel was a major step above the return of Jafar and helped cap off the Aladdin trilogy. Even though feature-length Aladdin productions were over, Williams' role as the genie was far from it. Following Aladdin and the King of Thieves, Williams had starring roles in Father's Day, Flubber, and Patch Adams. One role, returning him critical acclaim and the awards circuit, was in Good Will Hunting. Williams won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor playing Sean, a psychologist and mentor to Matt Damon's Will. Compared to many of his other animated roles, Good Will Hunting featured one of Robin's more subdued and controlled performances. The world of animation would not be out of his life for long, though. Oddly enough, the animated and lively actor had a string of voice roles involving robots during the early 2000s. The first was Bicentennial Man, about a robot who gets human emotions and feelings. Although the robot was made using practical effects and a suit, Williams did a lot of voice work and ADR to help make the creation feel realistic. Just a couple of years later, Williams provided his voice for a brief part in Steven Spielberg's AI Artificial Intelligence. And to complete the trilogy, Williams voiced the bot Fender in 2005's Robots. Robots was a mild success for Blue Sky Studios, but never led to any spin-offs or sequels. Instead, Williams moved on to voice a penguin in the hit movie Happy Feet. The Warner Brothers movie featured all kinds of songs, and much like Aladdin, Robin Williams did his own singing for the animated penguin. Unlike Return of Jafar, Williams came back to the sequel this time around, starring in Happy Feet 2 and bringing more zaniness to the penguins he voiced.
I said, who will love Ramon?
In the world of live action, Williams stuck with a lot of mainstream family films and showed off more great impression skills by playing Teddy Roosevelt in the Night at the Museum trilogy. Once again, his unique voice and ability to toss on an accent proved to be a big success. Unfortunately, for someone who brought so much energy, laughter, and optimism to the roles he played and the voices he created, things were different in his personal life. Through the course of his career, Williams struggled with substance abuse problems. These problems began with cocaine and then included multiple relapses with alcohol abuse problems. Williams was also severely depressed and had to check himself into rehab in 2006 and 2014. And then the unthinkable happened as Williams ended his life on August 11, 2014. Fans all over the globe were extremely saddened by his death and the loss which came with it. Many people declared him one of the funniest people of all time, and it was tragic to see it all come to an end the way it did. After his passing, multiple autopsies and reports confirmed Williams had Lewy body disease, which was mistakenly diagnosed as Parkinson's disease when he was still alive. For Disney's part, they decided to honor him by honoring his voice. Along with graphics dedicated to the life of Robin Williams, every single Disney cable network aired the original Aladdin movie in the days following his passing. Still working heavily in Hollywood, Williams had several projects in post-production or nearing completion at the time of his death. Among the projects were Merry Friggin' Christmas, The Angriest Man in Brooklyn, and Night at the Museum's Secret of the Tomb. All three movies premiered just weeks and months after Williams' passing, when it was still fresh in the mind of his fans. The Night at the Museum series went out on a high note. The movie premiered on December 19, 2014, and also featured a dedication to Robin Williams at the end. After his slew of releases at the end of 2014, it's only fitting that the last movie featuring Robin was a voiceover role. The movie Absolutely Anything was released exactly 1 year after Williams passed away. In the movie, Simon Pegg plays a man granted powers from aliens to do and control anything he wants. One of his first choices, making his dog Dennis talk like a human, and the voice behind the canine was none other than Williams. The role wasn't a huge one, but brought out plenty of laughs and was a fitting way to represent the voice work he had done for multiple decades. And now, with the remake of Aladdin ready to hit theaters, people will reminisce, watch the original Aladdin, and truly see how great Williams performed as the genie. To truly see the brilliance and effort that went into the role, it's worth checking out the Blu-ray extras and seeing some of the Genie outtakes. Robin Williams had a one-of-a-kind voice. Whether he was playing a genie, a goofy bat, an eccentric robot, a dog, or a dancing penguin, he was instantly recognizable and still had the ability to warp and shift his voices in dozens of ways. In the world of stand-up, acting, and animation, Williams will go down as a legend and one of the most creative and funny people to ever live. What's your favorite Robin Williams voice performance? Do you think Will Smith will be able to fill the role of the Genie? What other voice actors are right up there with Robin Williams? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to Screen Rant on YouTube so you can stay up to date with our awesome videos. Thanks for watching.